How's it going, everyone? It's Jared playing. I wanted to give you a quick lesson today on how you can walk a 2-5-1-6 chord progression in the key of F major. The key of F major, we have the 2 chord, of course, that's G minus 7. We'll just look at that chord quickly. Has the notes G, the root, B flat, the 3rd, D, the 5th, F, the 7, the minor 7, and we get to G again. For all of these chords we're going to talk about today, I like to practice them, and I've said this many times before, that I like to practice them from this open E string up to about middle C, which is the 5th fret on the G string. I like to just keep it within that range for the time being, and then as you get more comfortable with the notes and learn the neck a bit better, you can venture further up the neck to about this D area or this E or F area as well. It's all good. But for the moment, we'll keep it down in this open E to middle C position. So G minus 7. We'll toss in the 3rd up here as well, because why not? B flat. That's the 2 chord, the 5 chord C7. C, E, G, B flat, and C. Okay, root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7, and octave again. Importantly, we can get the notes beneath this root as well. So B flat, the 7, G, the 5th, open E string, the 3rd. So that's C7 and F major 7. F, open A, 3rd, 5th, C, major 7, E, F, A, C, just so we get all of those notes in the range that we're working with. Also note there's a nice major 7 down here, this open E string as well that we can use. We'll talk about the 6th chord in just a second. For the moment, let's just focus on the 2-5-1 part. And it's important that we know the arpeggios, so we've just looked at them. Let's look at also the key of F major, the F major scale. So starting on this low F, it's all of the natural notes except we change B to B flat. So F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. And I'm going to practice it up to middle C and come back down. For all these exercises, these arpeggios, and the scales that go with them, you should practice them more times than you think you need to. I find that a lot of bass players that I teach will practice them once or twice and think that's enough. It's really not. You've got to practice them 50 times, 100 times. More times than you need to is a good rule of thumb for this. So I'll practice F major scale up and down the neck as many times as I need to feel comfortable with it. And you would want to do the same thing for G Dorian. Now, if you don't know the names of the modes and what these mean, it doesn't matter. Dorian is simply F major scale, starting and ending on G. It's all the same notes that you just practiced, right? But you're going to think about it from a minor sort of sound, a G minor sound. Once again, if this doesn't make any sense, don't even worry about it, it's fine. Just practice F major scale. Same type of thing for C Mixolydian scale. Just think of F major scale starting and ending on C. Think of that as your root note. Get really comfortable with them. Now we can finally start the walking bass approach for this 2-5-1 in F. So we're going to start, for the moment, from this G on the 3rd fret of the E string, And we've got four notes to get from this G to this C on the 3rd fret of the A string. And we can do that in a number of ways. The important thing to keep in mind with walking bass, and I like to always teach this idea, is the most important note apart from note 1, okay, note 1, the first note of whatever chord you're playing over, is note 4, because note 4 leads us in to the first beat of the new chord. And so our note choice there needs to be a good one. And there's a couple of good approaches that we can use to get to this target note of C. The first one is the stepwise motion. So our target note is C. We can go from a step underneath the C, so B flat, going up to C. That happens to be the 3rd on G minor, going up to C. Or we can go from the other direction, D, down to C. D is the 5th on G minor, going down to C. So an example of that would be something like this. Step, and then up to C, or I could do this, for example. D going down to C like that. The second approach is we can do a half-step motion, or a semitone motion if you like to use those terms, and that's where we go B natural up to C, or D flat down to C. Those are the two options there. So one approach that we could do for that would be walking up to C like that. G, A, B flat, 4th beat, B natural, and C. The other approach, so we go the other way now, is to put in the D flat. Maybe I could do something like this. So you hear that? I went root on G minor, B flat, D, D flat, beat 4, and C, the root note on B1. And the final approach that we can use is root to root motion. Whenever you have a chord progression that moves around in the circle of fourths, you can always use root to root motion to get you to the new chord change. And it just happens that 2-5-1 chord progressions, all of the roots move around in the circle of fourths. G is a 4th away from C, which is a 4th away from F, right? Root to root motion for this chord progression sounds really good. So if we end on G on beat 4, going up to C is going to sound really good. So a line might sound like this. Okay, or I could do, right, going from this G down to the C. So those are the main ways that we can get from beat 4 to beat 1 of the new chord change in the smoothest possible way. So that's the 2-5-1 in F. We're now going to add in the 6th chord. So in the key of F, the 6th chord is D, and it's normally D minor 7. If we want to be jazzy, right, we can use the minor 7. But typically we change the 6th chord to a D7, and that has that F sharp note in there. So we're playing D, the 3rd, F sharp. Now F sharp is not in the key of F, right? There's F major, that's F sharp. We just have F and G. So it's a substitution again. We're basically just changing. We're substituting D7 for D minor 7. And we do that because it leads us back into the 2 chord, back into the G minor chord in a much nicer way. It just sounds much more resolved and much more jazzy. So D7, D, F sharp, major 3rd this time, 5th A, C minor 7. Keep in mind we've got all these notes beneath the root. That's C, that minor 7, 5th, and that major 3rd F sharp down here. So once again, practice these up and down the neck. Get used to the notes, where they are, get used to the position shifts that you may or may not need to make. And again, play it more times than you think you need to. Play it 50, 100 times. Now the scale that I'm going to recommend for this chord is a little bit different. It's called D Mixolydian flat 9 flat 13. Now once again, if that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it, but here's the notes. It's going to be D, E flat, F sharp, G, A, B flat, C, D. Kind of a cool sound. Some of you may know this one as the fifth mode of harmonic minor. So this would be G harmonic minor. And if we take that and start on note D, that's the sound we get. Some people call it the Spanish Phrygian mode. There's lots of different names for it, but that's the one that I recommend for this particular chord. So now that we've added in the sixth chord, this D7, all of the same walking bass approaches that we just talked about, we can use for this chord as well. So that's all we have time for in this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this lesson and would like to support my efforts on YouTube, you can sign up to my Patreon page linked below. And I thank you for your support and thanks for watching the video. I'm just going to play a few walking bass ideas using the methods that we talked about in this lesson, and I hope you have some fun with it. See you in the next one.